you would hope that common sense would prevail. Obviously not. You see, the markets have taken, well, a massive, absolutely massive nosedive. Again, because of President Trump, in his infinite wisdom, decided to unleash, well, a barrage of these tariffs that appear to be calculated on the back of a fag packet, or some kind of Greek calculation that makes no feckin' sense. Well, this has been dubbed as Liberation Day. But liberation from what, for Christ's sake? Well, common sense, maybe? You see, common sense is no longer common. No. Not just in the United States, pretty much every feckin' where. Look what's happening in the United Kingdom, what the hell? And then we've got the rise of the right elsewhere in the world, and it's like, what madness have we got to face next? None of it seems to make any sense, because there is no sense, no common sense. It's gone. Yeah. Puff, it went, puff of smoke. Well, tariffs, well, they're way higher than that we even expected. Didn't make any sense, you see. You know, the United Kingdom was like 2.5% on tariffs from the US, and what they do, they give us a 10% tariff. China's now at 245% tariffs. Yeah, okay, cut your nose to spite your face, you could say. Well, anyway, this has all been announced in some kind of fanfare, not exactly subtly, is it? No, it's more like a bull in a feckin' china shop. And suddenly investors have, that's sad to say it's not worth a candle. You can't blame them either, since they're sweating feckin' bullets they are. Because, surprise, surprise, when you make everything more expensive to import, well, inflation goes up. The one thing that we're trying to fight, inflation. Because inflation makes everything more expensive for everybody. And there's more than one type of inflation, whether it be food inflation, whether it be manufacturing, or overall inflation. But you see, the economy slows down. It just does, because people stop spending. And this is a time when you need growth. All the promises that were made by various presidents and prime ministers, yeah, growth, they go. And they do everything they can to, well, prevent growth. Growth. Well, a Wall Street veteran, I can't remember his name now, Ken Fisher. Anyway, the man's been through more economic crises than most of us, to be fair. No. He says that we're teetering on the edge of a recession, if not a depression, and so was actually Peter Schiff. And it's not surprising, is it, Ray, when you see everything that's going on at the moment? And Donald Trump don't seem to care. He's just watching from his Oval Office. Well, it's like he's going, well, whatever, playing golf for the weekend, and you're paying for it. You know how it goes. Well, this is not just because of tariffs, so, potentially a recession, no. It's because of, the Fed might cock it all up again. It just might. Now, can you remember when Powell, I think it was, crikey, back in 2021, I think it was, he called inflation transitory. And how'd that work out? Well, now he's saying the tariff impact might be more severe than he thought. Well, quite frankly, it's bloody obvious, isn't it? You rock the boat, people fall off. They just do. And unfortunately, when the United States sneezes, everybody catches a cold, and everyone's lives become hard around the world. And if you're trying to export goods, well, if you've crippled other countries, they can't buy your stuff. Plain and simple. So all this thing about improving, trade deficits doesn't work if you can actually cripple the country. Because because people they'll have less disposable income. So how the hell are you going to improve a trade deficit if you're just going to put a stranglehold on those countries? It doesn't make any logical sense whatsoever. So the thing about inflation is cumulative. And it's, even if it's only around 3% now, it's, well, that's going to be on top of another 8%, and then on top of another 6%, etc., 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 and people will be drowning in it. And, well, the people in charge are still stuck in the same old trap, and same old mindset. Nothing new, nothing innovative, no new ways of dealing with the situation that we've been facing. It seems to be a bit of a cycle, to be fair. We're up there with our economy, then we've had, because greed, you see. So, yeah, it crashes because of greed. But the thing is, you see, with this inflation, you could raise rates, interest rates, that could help control inflation to some degree. Or you could lower the interest rates, which is what Donald Trump wants. Well, that'll just increase inflation. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's just totally illogical. If you lower interest rates, you give people more disposable income. That's how the philosophy works, and they spend more money. But if they spend more money, you're not going to curb inflation. You're just going to increase it. You've got to kind of cripple people even more to try and bring inflation down. That's usually the tactic that most governments decide to do, because it's easy. It's easy for them just to flick the switch, you see. Just put, the Bank of England or, your federal bank will basically just increase interest rates or reduce them accordingly. Don't help you though, does it? No. You'll still be paying more. This thing about inflation, you see, if it's increased 10% today, it'll still be 10% tomorrow, even if inflation's come down. You see, like I say, it's cumulative. Now, Fisher, who's a lifelong Republican, I believe, he says that Trump's plan is amateur hour. You see, even the Republicans, they're not exactly on board with Donald Trump. No. Some of them are suckling his old chocolate starfish, that they are, if you know what I mean. But it is like an amateur hour, with like a cast of stooges, I suppose. Now, the bottom line is that trade, if it's part of a trade war, it doesn't end. It just escalates, tit for tat, and the situation just gets worse and worse and worse. You have to talk to people. You have to talk to the countries. You have to negotiate. The problem with Donald Trump is that nobody trusts him. You might have a negotiation. You might make a deal with Donald Trump today. Tomorrow will be a new tariff. Something different. So you've got to start the whole process all over again. But hey-oh. At least we're liberated, yeah. Since Liberation Day. While we tumbled into feckin' depression. And not just the United States, the whole West. Now, China's got its problems at the moment. Factories are in China have actually paused manufacturing at the moment, but they'll ride it out. You see, because they can. It's not easy for Western businesses, especially in the United Kingdom. At the end of the day, you got employment rights. You still got to pay people, even if you shut the factory down. You still got to pay them. Meanwhile, no money's coming in. He says everything is just illogical. Nothing makes sense anymore. It's like he's making it up as he goes along. And he has no allegiance for the United Kingdom. The so-called special relationship is a whole lot of bollocks. It really is. And now we're expected to give him, a fanfare when he comes in September. And then a parliamentary address, as well as seeing the King. What a load of feckin' bollocks is that? What the hell? Anyway, what say you? Please leave it in the comments down below. If you want to watch Annie do it on Patreon, or buy us a coffee, and the links are down below. Blimey. What a fucking mess. Toodaloo.